All right, here I am.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here.
It's good to have you here. This getting together was a long time in coming, with all the disruptions going on in DC over
Yeah, you caused
whatever.
a lot of trouble down here. You push.
How I lost track of how long everything was dragging on, so I'm not going to try to say how long we've been working on this, but it's just felt like a long time anyway. But I know your schedule is very tight, and we still got a few people connecting. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, squeezing some time out of your schedule.
Yeah, no, thank you, Joe. I always like being with you guys.
I know we've got limited time, but I was hoping for two things this afternoon. One for you, possibly, if you're up for it, to share with the credit union leaders that we have on the line about just your take on what's been going on in DC and maybe what's going forward and whatnot. And then how the rest of the year is going to wrap up in Congress, and then to hear from credit unions about what. And even though the shutdown is, well, I guess as far as the press is concerned, it's behind us, but I think the ramifications of it are still continuing on for some people anyway. And so for some of those people that credit unions have been dealing with for some months now during all of this and continue to, and what they've been doing to assist people in need, not just from, federal payrolls and whatnot, but for, their other financial needs during this period of time too. So those are the two things that I was hoping to cover. Hope that's okay with you.
And, yeah, that's fine. Do you want to go around everybody say hello?
Sure. Well, you know who I am, and I think everybody else knows who I am. We also have Carrie Allen on the line, who is our executive vice president, and as of the end of this year, will be my successor. So wow. She is the president in waiting, I guess I'll say. So this is probably going to be the last time that you and I connect directly, but Carrie is going to be carrying on the mantle, and she's an awesome person to do that.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations, Carrie. That's really wonderful. It's a big responsibility. Good for you.
It certainly is. Thank you.
Everybody else, we're a small group, so just go ahead, chime in, unmute, and introduce yourselves. Name, where you're from, and maybe what you do.
Bob Morgan, I'm CEO of North Country Federal Credit Union. Thank you very much for joining us today, Senator.
Yeah, good to see you, Bob.
Lisa Heyer. Oh, sorry. Lisa Heyer, North Country Federal Credit Union Executive. Welcome.
Thanks, Lisa.
Hi, Senator. Rob Miller, President COO at East Rise. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again, Rob. Yep.
Hi, I'm Leanne Bixby. Obviously, I'm from Heritage Family, as you can see behind my head. I'm the VP of Consumer Lending.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Senator, I'm Tim Dineska. I'm the Chief Lending Officer at Vermont Federal Credit Union.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Tim.
Hi, Senator. Bob Lake. You have Bob Lake with Green Mountain Credit Union. I'm the CEO.
Thanks, Bob. Yep.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that, everybody.
And John, we did. Yeah. Did we get you, John? Go ahead.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. No, hi, Senator. John Stanley. I'm with Green Mountain Credit Union. I'm the CFO.
Great. Well, two things. I mean, number one, what's going on here is not good. Okay, we had the longest shutdown in the history of the country. I think it reflects two things. One is the conflict between the on healthcare, where these affordable care tax cuts or credits are going to expire, and once they expire, it's going to be brutal for about 35,000 Vermonters and about 24 million Americans. And there's an urgency because those premium increases go into effect now. And there's a lot of Vermonters who depend on those tax credits to supplement what they pay for their premiums. And you're going to see some premiums in Vermont increase from, say, $900 a year, or pardon me, a month, to $3,200 a month. So that's really not sustainable. And what's so difficult about it, and this is an indication of the dysfunction that we have right now in Congress, this is a drop dead date. I happen to think we have to do major things on healthcare because our country, we spend the most and get the least. and it's really getting to be an unsustainable burden for individuals who are in the marketplace. It's an unsustainable burden for taxpayers with Medicare and Medicaid, and it's an unsustainable burden for businesses where the premiums for employer-sponsored healthcare have just been rocketing up year after year after year, and it's really cutting into the capacity of businesses to give raises as opposed to just dedicate everything to the healthcare cost. So it's a real issue. But what is unique about this one is that on January 1, they expire. So the immediate reason that this was a partisan event, we're not agreeing to a budget where you got 60 votes in the Senate, so they needed some Democratic votes in order to proceed, was all the time that we've had these budget fights, there have been negotiations about what should be the final budget. And the president took the position that the Republicans will not talk to the Democrats about this. So our protest was the decision to oppose the budget and then make an effort to negotiate on the healthcare premiums. And let me just acknowledge that that's not a good way to do business. But the way we're doing business in general is not a good way to do business. And it's really not a good way to do business to turn your back on the reality that families in Vermont and across the country are getting hit with what is going to be a shocking increase in their healthcare premiums, and it's going to be one that they can't afford. By the way, that's a lot of farmers use this. That's how they get their healthcare. Some small businesses have used it. They went from the employer-sponsored to helping their employees buy through the marketplace, and it really made a significant difference for a number of our small businesses. So I think it's a real tragedy that ultimately we were unsuccessful in doing something that would have been beneficial, by the way, for folks, whether they voted for Trump or they voted for Harris. You know, this issue about the cost of healthcare is not it's not who you voted for or what your politics are. It's like every family needs healthcare, and it's got to be affordable. So my whole orientation on this is something that needed to be done for the benefit of folks in red states or blue states. You know the outcome. Eventually, there was an immense amount of collateral pain for a lot of folks, especially in the food and nutrition programs. So we're back open. And now we're going to have more of a debate and discussion about healthcare, but I'm not at all optimistic about that. I think the second part of the reason for the shutdown is just the extraordinary shattering of norms that is true in the Trump administration. I mean, this sounds partisan, but it's my honest assessment. You know, the tariffs are doing an immense amount of harm. The businesses I talk to, you guys would be good sources of information on that. But it's not just the increase in cost. It's the arbitrary nature of on again, off again. What's the rate today? What's the rate tomorrow? And one of the real other questions about that is that the tariff or taxing authority it belongs to the legislature, and you're seeing essentially Trump arrogating the Article 1 powers of Congress about budget. It's our authority to decide what to spend and how to spend it, and tax, what to tax and how to tax it, and that includes tariffs, and then oversight. So there's the part of the pushback here was really just a need to push back on the seizure of a lot of the authorities of Congress into the executive branch. I happen to think that's quite dangerous. And again, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, our whole system is based on checks and balances. And that means that there's a role for Congress, there's a role for the executive, there's a role for the judiciary. It's going to be an ongoing battle as we proceed in the next year of the Trump administration. By the way, I think all of that makes it really tough, especially these tariffs. I'll be interested in hearing from you. But the businesses I talk to in Vermont constantly, it's really hurt our relations with Canada. The tourism is way down. There's a lot of heartache because we've had close relationships with Canada and the businesses that serve Canadian visitors. Felt a lot of affection for the people who came. Many of them, it was a yearly event. I am apprehensive about the growing consequences of these price increases and the affordability questions that are being, I think, intensified by the tariffs. So this is the ongoing battle we're in. You know, we're back in business. We're open, and we still have to do work on the budget. And then we can talk about some of the bills that you continue to monitor, and I'll be glad to do that. But that's sort of a thumbnail sketch of what's going on.
Thank you for that so much, Senator. Reaction to any of what you just heard from anybody or questions? Okay. Well, if we're not all going to speak at once, then let's move on to, if it's okay with all of you folks, I know that we asked you to be prepared to share what you've been doing in your credit union in recent months during the shutdown, recent weeks, to assist people that were directly or indirectly affected during this time. And I imagine there's some of that continuing to go on going forward. I know I was reading an article today, and it's not Vermont specific, but I was reading an article today that some of you may have seen about credit unions in the DC area where your day job is, Senator, tallying up about something over $200 million in assistance during the shutdown period.
Wow, it was really helpful.
Something like 12,000 members by way of waived fees and interest and deferred payments and all of that kind of stuff to people that were furloughed and so on and so forth. So, and Vermont Credit is doing a lot of those kinds of things, a lot more. So anybody have anything that they're willing to share to get the ball rolling?
We, again, this is Bob at North Country Federal Credit Union. I think you're going to hear similar stories from the other credit unions that you listened to today, but we stood up a couple of programs. We did a 0% interest loan for 60 days. It's equal to 2 direct deposits for federal workers or contractors, and dispersed over $135,000 of that to our members during this, and of course did a number of loan modifications of moving the payments out 1 or 2 months to help members through this. It was, there was a lot of uncertainty, not only for federal workers and contractors, but you had mentioned it earlier, for people who receive food assistance and other assistance on the government. It was a real event. I'm sure you heard that from your constituents. And we tried to have a small role in helping members get through that. So just wanted to kind of share that with you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much. I know you did. That's great.
Yeah, I'll just this is Rob from East Rise. We did many of the same things. I think all of us probably did to some level or extent or another. But I do want to pick up on what you refer to. I don't think that the uncertainty is limited to businesses and small businesses and farmers. The level of anxiousness, anxiety, concern for the future, members know that this isn't permanent, and without we certainly aren't disparaging you as a member of Congress, but they do not have confidence in Congress's ability to work together and serve their best interests. And so,
well, they're right.
They're right, that is a struggle with them, is to they need to make decisions about their future as well. So, a lot of increased anxiety, a lot of we're doing a lot of financial counseling. And financial assistance with members that may not result necessarily in a new loan or an emergency loan or other form of assistance, but just generally trying to get members comfortable with operating in an uncertain environment. That certainly is true also for the business community as well.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Robin. I know you're right. No, look, we got a problem. Congress is weak right now. because it's really essentially an executive-run operation down here. And it's executive orders that are being used instead of legislation. When you have legislation, the two parties usually have to work it out. And if they can work it out, you get something that has some durability to it. But really, the major decisions that are having such an impact are executive. I do not believe the executive has authority to do these tariffs. And of course, that's the big Supreme Court case. And the justification the administration is using is that we don't want to pay the money back if the lawsuit goes against them. But I think that's a real problem. There has to be stability. You guys know this better than anybody. People need some stability in their financial lives, and business needs some stability in order to be able to make the consequential decisions about investment, about payroll, about the things that have to be done, as each and every one of you has to do in your own organization.
Yeah, and I would simply add to that, and you alluded to it with regard to rising healthcare costs, but it's becoming increasingly difficult for members to afford just basic needs, let
Right.
alone, the luxuries to go on a vacation or something along those lines.
No,
But
it's
auto
really
insurance,
serious. Yeah, you guys
healthcare,
see it.
yeah.
You know it. And I hear from people all the time, and they're working hard. You're talking about people who have good jobs, but where they don't, we all know, and we've talked a lot about how tough it is on housing, but housing and healthcare are two things that everybody really needs. And if the costs are going up and consuming a bigger and bigger portion of your salary, where's the vacation? Where's tuition for school? Where's the money to pay to send your child to camp? I mean, things that are not, these are things families want to do.
Bob and John, Green Mountain Credit Union just went through a merger with
Mhm.
Opportunities Credit Union. So you have a whole bunch of new members from a
Right.
segment of the communities in which you operate that I won't say you didn't deal with any of those folks before, but you have a greater concentration of it now. What have you been seeing?
So from the Opportunities Credit Union was, they were a CDFI and they had a CDFI certification, a low income. They were also a low income designated credit union. So they had a heavy concentration on the low income individuals, in the underbanked and underserved. And those members certainly were affected significantly by this, by the shutdown and the going into the higher price of groceries, and then rolling the SNAP benefit issue. Unfortunately, it has been resolved, but we did see a lot of individuals that had come in that were just flat out desperate, like not knowing what they were going to do, how they were going to feed their family. And we assured those folks that we would be working with them to get through whatever financial distress that they got into due to the lack of benefits. But we also rolled out programs for the federal workers as well, and we were actually surprised the number of federal workers and contractors that had reached out that needed assistance as well. We gave them a 90-day 0% interest, and then on top,
Wow.
and then offered them a payment plan after that. If so,
That's so great you could do that. It was a really awful experience for me during the shutdown because I supported it for the reasons I described, but it wasn't without enormous apprehension and sadness, because all the Capitol Police that I pass every day, my staff that I see every day, people depend on their paychecks. And it was so uncertain as to when the shutdown would end. And for a while, it was even uncertain whether people would get back pay. So it was tough. And I so appreciate how your organization stepped up to help people.
thank you.
Yeah, so I would just say, Senator, we've done a lot of the same things as the other
Yeah.
credit unions for sure. Skipping loan payments, providing an emergency relief loan, doing whatever we can to help. Like Bob was saying, we had a lot of members who, because they didn't have SNAP benefits, were really in a tough spot, no money to buy groceries. So we had given our staff gift cards to grocery stores here to give out to folks as they saw fit who were in need of that. And I think all of the credit unions on this call are always willing to do these things. We've had years of significant flooding where we've all done similar things to this, where we've stepped in and really supported our community and our members. And I guess I wonder too, from your point of view, I think about that, right? We saw that FEMA denied funds to Vermont for some flooding and kind of where that sits. What do you? There's only so much we can do as much as we try. How do you see things moving forward for Vermont as a state? Do you feel like we're a continued target to not get this sort of federal assistance? And how do we shield ourselves from that?
Yeah, I'll give a good news, bad news. Okay, number one, the good news is I think we're making progress on the FEMA money that was held back. we talked to Secretary Ensign, and we're now. It looks like it's right. It looks like it's authorized, as I understand it.
The Secretary Ensign
yeah. So I think we're making progress on that. We'd like to get it, and we've been working with the governor. We'd like to get it as a block grant that gives the state much more flexibility about how best to allocate that. And we've done such a good job in Vermont with our local leadership in the form of Governor Scott, and also our folks in the community. So I think we're going to be okay. But the second thing you raised is the thing that's just staggering to me. That was made explicit by the president himself. Said it. This is not me saying it. I was surmising it. He said he's going to take away projects in so-called blue states, go after Democratic projects. I mean, what do you say to that? Okay, I mean, you just think if Governor Scott said the school funding is going to be allocated on the basis of who voted Republican versus who voted Democrat, there'd be an uproar. We don't do that. Right? We don't even think about that. We think, hey, education money is for kids. That's for the benefit of the children. It's for the benefit of the well-being of the state. But that's the world we're in down here right now. And one of the things that's so tough, and it includes for businesses, is that they want to keep their head down, not to become the object of the ire of the president. And, that arbitrary quality is really, really terrible, because you've got responsibility for the institution you run. But you all know how important it is to abide by the principles that embed the culture of your institution. It's what allows people to trust you. And, we're going to have a transition from Joe to Carrie, but we're not going to have a change in values of what the service of that credit union is about, right? And so you're bringing up a topic that is of enormous concern to me about the well-being of our democracy. You just can't make these decisions in an arbitrary way or for the political advantage of the folks who voted for you and penalize the folks who didn't.
Hey,
okay, we're gonna have to we got a few more minutes, Joe. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this. Go ahead.
All good, as we expected. Just one more thing I want to squeeze in from, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Leanne, but thank you for joining us and representing Heritage. I know your credit union's footprint is much greater than Rutland County, but being based in Rutland County, anything different or that you want to reinforce from any other credit unions that you've been seeing?
Sure. So nothing really different. I mean, I'll mimic what everybody else said. The easiest thing was to offer the government shutdown relief extensions for members. We did have roughly 60 members that took advantage of it. We made it pretty simple. All they had to do was contact us, and we would get those payments extended for them. We did have our member solutions team, which is collections, reach out to members to talk about any, shortfalls that they were faced with, to see what we can do if they needed more than, 1 or 2 extensions. We have seen a few more extensions, just trickle in today. But like like everybody else said, it wasn't just the government workers. It was also the members that were benefiting from government benefits, SNAP benefits, that were struggling and scared that they weren't going to have food to feed their families. So
Right.
if this happens again, I feel like we're all in a better place and we can easily roll stuff out as needed. So
Great. Well, thank you all so very much. And, Joe, I also know you get your individual bills that you have been following, and there's nothing that I have to report on any of those at the moment. And we're going to be tied up pretty much on the appropriations process. I'm not anticipating much happening one way or the other on those bills of concern to you. But you know how to reach us, and I know you're watching us. So
yes,
I'm on alert.
We know, and I know how to reach the people that we need to reach, and you probably hear this from many others, but your staff, by the way, is very responsive to us anytime that we contact them or want to find out something or offer something. So they're good people.
We work for you. We work for you, just like you work for your customers. Same thing.
Thank you so much, Senator. We appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank everybody else.